Bienvenidos y bienvenidas a esta emisión de la FIMPRO con una gran plática que vamos a tener con grandes mujeres, impresionantes currículums que tendremos. Y bueno, el título, ¿no? Como la idea principal de esta reunión es hablar de las mentorías como una herramienta para la equidad de género. Estoy muy feliz de presentar a mis queridas panelistas. Andrea Magdalena, bienvenida. Celina Rolón, bienvenida. Y Marie-Claire Clausen, bienvenida. Pues bueno, antes de pasar a temas bien importantes como son las mentorías y cómo es que nos preparamos para ser mentoras y cómo las personas a quien mentoreamos hacemos como un vínculo y una comunicación, voy a presentar sus maravillosos currículums. Empecemos con Andrea Magdalena. Líder creativa con más de 9 años de experiencia en marketing, desarrollo empresarial y asociaciones estratégicas en la interacción de la música y la tecnología. Su experiencia incluye la construcción de comunidades, comunicaciones, desarrollo comercial, marketing de crecimiento, estrategia e implementación de asociaciones, desarrollo de marca y relaciones con la industria musical. Apasionada del trabajo ágil, el diseño comunitario y DEI, que es la diversidad, equidad e inclusión, construyendo lugares de trabajo productivos y servicios inclusivos y de líderes en el mundo. Es nacida y educada en Rumania, con estudios superiores en Londres, en Reino Unido. Y bueno, increíble su gran pasión y devoción, porque es fundadora de She Say So, que es una comunidad global independiente de mujeres y minorías de género en la industria de la música, y tiene como misión conectar y empoderar a diversas comunidades poco visibles hacia una industria musical más equitativa para todos, una mujer o una minoría de género a la vez. Bienvenida, Andrea. Impresionante tu currículum y gran trabajo del que vamos a hablar más adelante. Celina Roland dice, voy a citar una frase de Celina. Mi éxito no se mide únicamente por los discos número 1 que entregué, sino que se deriva del desarrollo de un artista con un presupuesto de marketing limitado y cree firmemente en que se convertirá en un éxito contra todo lo pronosticado. Eso es, creo que es sumamente la confianza, lo admiro muchísimo de ti y de tus palabras. Bueno, y con más de 20 años de experiencia en la industria de la música, fue productora de radio de Galaxy Network, gerente de marketing de Sony Music Entertainment. Celina Roland ha coordinado y administrado los lanzamientos de Beyoncé, Destiny's Child, John Legend, Shakira, Jennifer López, Tayo Cruz y muchos más. Además, es fundadora de Roland & increíble, aplausos, que es una empresa de entretenimiento boutique que ofrece gestión de artistas, producción y gestión de giras, consultoría de redes sociales, marketing y servicios de sellos discográficos independientes. Uf, y eso es un poquito solamente. Bienvenida, Celina.
Thank you, thank you.
Y bueno, por último, pero no menos importante, Mary Clausen. Bienvenida, Mary. Es directora de Norteamérica y transmisión global en Ninja Tune. ¡Wow! Uno de los principales sellos discográficos independientes del mundo. Con sede en Los Ángeles, supervisa el equipo estadounidense de Ninja Tune y la división de transmisión global en sellos de las oficinas de Los Ángeles, Londres, Berlín y París. Trabaja con artistas como Odessa, Bonobo y Thundercat. Es una entusiasta del streaming y experta en marketing, con amplia experiencia y conocimiento de la dinámica del mercado, la tecnología y su impacto en las oportunidades comerciales. Marie trabaja en varios sellos de primera línea y el catálogo sustancial de Ninja Tune. Actualmente se desempeña como directora en la Junta de Merlín, con una de las 3 primeras mujeres miembros de la Junta en América del Norte. La Junta de Directores de A2IM, y también Marie participa como mentora de She Grows, que es justamente un tema muy importante del que vamos a platicar, que es un programa de tutoría virtual para mujeres y minorías de género en la industria de la música. Bueno, pues con estas grandes mujeres vamos a comenzar pues panel de discusión bastante intenso. Bienvenidas todas a la FIMPRO, a México, y hablemos de nuestros proyectos y de sus ideas. Yo soy Carolina Antón, ingeniera de sonido, encabezo soundgirls.org en México, que también es una organización que apoya a las mujeres en la industria. Pues con esto damos por inicio. Bienvenidas sean todas, chicas. Podemos comenzar, por ejemplo, ¿por qué no, Andrea, nos platicas un poco sobre She Said So? ¿Qué es?
All right, you're asking me to say a few words about She Said So, right? Did I get that right?
Yes, please, if you could send something, the idea, the objectives of She Said So.
Cool. I will give you a little story, our background story. It's a very beautiful story that I love telling. I started She Said So back in 2014. At that time, I was still living in London, and I was working at this music streaming service called Mixcloud, where I was hired quite early on in the company as employee number 5 or 6. So I was exposed to all sides of the business, both in terms of technology and music industry. And having that sort of experience enabled me to learn very quickly about both industries, where I noticed that there is a common issue, and that is the lack of representation and the lack of opportunity for women in the industry, particularly in terms of technical roles and senior roles. So my objective, which She Said So when I created it at the end of 2014, was to bring together the women that I did know in the industry to create a sense of sisterhood and a sense of community, which at that time I didn't feel like it existed. I had the feeling that as women, we were pitted against each other in the industry because there was only one seat at the table. And so we would all have to fight for that one spot. And so what She Said So set out to do was to bring women together to support each other, because great things happen when women do support each other. And it was also an opportunity for us to create opportunities for each other, because if the men in power weren't going to pay attention to us and they weren't going to give us those opportunities, then it was up to us to create them for ourselves. And if there wasn't going to be more than one seat at the table, then it was up to us to create another table for us to sit at. And so that's kind of the background of She Said So. Fast forward almost 6 years at this point. In fact, we just celebrated our 6th anniversary. I believe we very much achieved this initial goal of bringing women together. So the next step from here is to also get men into our mission and figure out how we can continue our work of empowering women across all levels of the music industry with their support, and creating this more balanced environment that is the music business, where there is mutual respect, equal opportunity, and fair pay, regardless of anyone's gender or other identity markers. That's what She Said So is.
That's amazing. I mean, this is a very good opportunity to, as you said, as men and women, to find a community and to speak, to be free to speak, and to know that there is more people in the world that we can, listen and share information. And it's I think that for this time that we are passing right now, it's perfect, to feel company. Yes, Selena, how do you get involved with She Said So, and with your background? I think that you start making this big steps at Roland Entertainment, and then you maybe find out that She Said So. So how do you get involved with that?
I've been following She Said So for quite a few years. I was on the Facebook group and received the mail out, and I've always wanted to be involved with She Said So. And when I saw the mentorship opportunity, there was a mentor, She Grows. I applied and was lucky to be accepted, and we started it this year just after lockdown happened.
How long have you been a mentor at She Grows?
I think we started in April. Am I right, Andrea?
May.
The months,
yeah,
May.
Yeah. May is when it officially kicked off.
Yeah. So we started in May, and we've been having regular meetings with our mentees. I've been meeting my mentee every 2 weeks, and we've had regular groups with the She Said So mentors and mentees.
Yes, and I don't know, Marie, could you please tell us about this? I think that you have this program, like this program to be a mentor and for the mentees. Could you say to us more about that? How is this like manual for mentors? I think your mic it's muted. Yeah, thank you.
So this program right now is running from May until November. So it has very set goals, and I think it's very good that you have a specific time frame, so you really concentrate and focus on achieving goals and objectives within that time frame. So you have that your meetings with your mentees, but it's supported by additional events that She Said So has been putting together with YouTube that are just enhancing and preparing the mentees and the mentors to get the best out of that program. And yeah, it's an incredible program, and I can only recommend for everyone to start mentoring or participate if you are younger, because the benefits of it are huge.
Did you have a mentor in your life, Marie?
I never had a mentor. I would say I had specific people that served the role as a mentor for me, where I would go to for specific different aspects, but I never officially had a mentor. But similar to Andrea and Selina too, I came up in the industry where there were very few women actually that worked there. So I always found myself quite just on my own path, and not necessarily being able to discuss or share my experience with other women. I think I would have loved to have one. So that's one of the reasons that I joined the mentorship program, that I think now that I can give back and I have knowledge to share, I would love for younger female industry people to have a different experience. And secondly, I am now in music executives. I'm working on several boards, and I see that I am one of the first females to have a seat on the table on these levels. And thank you. But it's still really, really hard. And I think that we really need to work to get more to build younger talent up to be able to have a seat on the table. And the second, the feedback that I'm getting when I'm working on the boards too, is that everybody finds that the outcome is much better if you have a diverse directors on the table. So I think overall for us as an industry, it's extremely important that we have a diverse workforce. And I think it's great what Andrea is doing. I'm super proud to participate, and I hope a lot more people will continue to do the same.
Yes, I want to participate, please. Andrea, please tell us more about these mentoring sessions, and how people can mentoring be part of these mentoring sessions. What are the steps to follow that?
Sounds good. Our mentoring programs as part of the She Grows scheme are actually very structured. We haven't done any free mentoring yet because we wanted to play around with the mentorship model that we came up with. And typically, it happens as part of a predetermined program. So it's if anyone wants to join our community to be a part of a program, they will have to subscribe to our newsletter, keep an eye on our social media, because these opportunities come on an ad hoc basis. Exactly. Typically, we have a partner in place. In this case, for the She Grows France and Italy program that Marie and Selena are a part of, are mentors in. This is a program that's sponsored by YouTube Music, and with their support, we were able to run it for, I believe, 9 months in total. And when you think about 9 months, is a really long time. However, real mentorship happens like this. It's a very slow process because it takes some time for you to build that sort of connection with your mentee. And then you have to go to the next stage where you have to build trust. And in order to provide the best advice you can, you really need to establish that personal connection on top of the professional one. And 9 months, you will see, as part of a program like this, will fly by. And sometimes some mentor-mentee relationships stay outside of the program. They continue. The mentor and mentee become really close, and they expand the relationship outside of the program. Sometimes it doesn't. That doesn't mean that it's not a successful partnership. It just means, well, you know, logistically, sometimes that's not possible to continue. So on top of our classic mentoring program, which typically takes a few months, we're also coming up with other innovative ways in which we can promote the spirit of mentoring. And one of them is exactly what we did with FIMPRO. This year, we selected, in addition to this panel, we're running a micro mentoring program where we selected 5 mentors, senior members of the Shisetsu community, and paired them with 5 mentees from the FIMPRO community to spend just a couple of hours this weekend, and then check in with each other in another month as a little experiment to see how we can bring the same value of mentorship on a smaller scale and be able to help even more women.
Yes, I think that's very important to know each other and to make this confident environment for the mentee and for the mentor. So Selena, how do you feel being a mentor? I mean, what's your experience about that?
I mean, I love it. I had 3 unofficial mentors when I was coming through. All 3 of my bosses through Sony Music were women, or just before that in radio as well. We never officially made it mentor, but they gave me chances that, like, I would not be where I am if they wouldn't have given me that first chance. They saw something in me and they just handed me a little bit of a, you know. So for me, it's really important to I realized that my growth only happened from those 3 women. And I want to make sure that I'm doing more than that in order for the younger women to come up and there be more of them. I don't think I ever saw, I think if I would have saw that it was harder as a woman when I was younger, I might not have taken as much chance, but I was so naive and I had these blinkers on that there was nothing going to even distract me. But now being older and looking back, I can see that. And it's incredible, not just for them, but for me to see them grow and to give them confidence and for them to be able to talk to me about problems I had when I was younger and I wasn't able to talk to anyone.
Yes, I was really surprised because many times I spoke with a lot of people and they didn't know what is a mentor. You know, they didn't have, you know, that idea, and kind of they thought that maybe it's a teacher or someone that teach you like something, but it's different. You know, being a mentor, it's like showing the path, showing maybe sharing the path, actually, because we know we don't own the truth. I mean, you know, we just share our experience and our many years of work, no? So, Marie, how do you feel about that? How do you, your first approach to be a mentor, how do you think about that?
Yeah, good question. I think in the beginning, I was sounding out the situation to find out what my mentee really needs. And I let my mentee define her goals and where she wanted to take it. Because as you said, nobody owns the truth, and my path may not be her path. So my first step was to listen to her and then talk with her through the obstacles that she is finding, and giving her the tools to overcome those obstacles, more so by asking the right questions, and showing her specific resources or sharing experiences on how I have overcome obstacles in my life. So that was the first part. But what I also wanted to say is that it's been very inspiring for me as well, getting to know my mentee, because she's much younger. I'm in my late 30s, and I think I don't even know how old she is, but she seems to be much younger. And she has got so much, her energy is phenomenal. And it's really interesting for me to see the world through her eyes, and to see what she is thinking about the business. And that, in return, I can also apply to my leadership skills. I'm running a quite large team of women within, I think they are in like their early 20s to over 40. And it's been really good to have that closeness, basically, to a younger person. So I can also help support my team better. That. And also, I think when I was young, similar to what Selena said, we would just take it for granted that things are set in a certain way, or like I similarly also didn't think something was wrong with the industry until I became older, and I was thinking, hold on, this is just so wrong. Why was I always asked to bring the coffee, or why was I always tasked with these like horrible things that you had to do? And it's so nice to see that there are younger kids who just completely challenge everything, and I am grateful for that, because that's the way to do it. You just have to get in there and promote change and address it on the point, on the dot.
Yeah, I think that's a key, you know, to be with the young women, with the young people, so they can change. You know, they have like a new mentality. So it's a very good question that maybe I want you to ask. I want you ask about what do you think about the new generations, about, you know, new thinking, new, because it's very different because at the beginning, right? It's very different as we began, you know, working.
Yeah, totally. I think always I'm really amazed how they are challenging the status quo. Which I definitely didn't have the guts when I was younger to do so. And on the other hand, I'm also finding it quite challenging to manage young people, because they are challenging me all the time. But I think ultimately that is what brings change. So it really makes you rethink certain structures. But yeah, curious to hear what others are thinking.
I mean, I'm fascinated. I've been working with a climate justice movement called the Sunrise Movement, and also Bye Plastics. They're like 12 to 14-year-old kids in Bali that are like, you know, in Forbes magazine, you know, 30 under 30, and these kids are like, they're so intelligent, and they're so I feel like they're gonna heal our world, and they're gonna change this world, and I'm just so amazed and in awe by these kids. They're incredible. Yeah, way different to me when I was 15. You know,
I know, that's
inspiring.
Yeah, that's the same. By my side, I feel the same as you. How about the educational training? I mean, it's very important to have, you know, to know the very good schools or maybe books, or how do you manage that? How do you refer to the young people where to study or what to read? How about that? Andrea, could you give us like a little example about this?
Well, part of the reason it's so difficult to address the lack of diversity, as well as many other issues that the music business has, they're not restricted to gender by any means. We're having issues with how artists are being paid, with how contracts are being drawn. You know, there's a lot that the music business has to work through. And the reason it's so hard to fix these issues is because it's a quite chaotic industry to operate in. And on one side, it's amazing because it means anyone can enter it. You don't need to go to a particular school. You don't need to have a certain degree in order to work in the music business. If you're a self-taught musician or a self-taught marketer, and you are able to demonstrate your skills, then it's, you know, you have a chance. What's wrong about this scenario is the fact that in order to get in the music industry in the first place, you're usually asked to work for free or intern for a really long time before you actually start getting paid. As a musician too, you have to go through so much personal investment before that investment is going to return anything back. And that's what's making the music industry very segregated, and it's difficult for people from other economic backgrounds and communities who are typically underrepresented because they cannot afford to play this game and enter the music industry. So generally speaking, in terms of providing educational resource to people who wish to enter the music business, I don't necessarily advise them to enter an official training program because that too tends to be expensive. Plus, I've heard a lot of stories of these institutional environments that continue to be male-dominated as well. So they don't provide a very safe, nurturing environment for women and other underrepresented communities to grow. What I recommend them instead is to join communities like ours, is to find key people that they admire and to really spend time researching their background, researching how they got to where they're at. Typically, a lot of these people, especially if they're not a straight white male, have a very interesting story. They've probably gone through their own, you know, difficult journey. They've had struggles to get where they are. They had to deal and compromise with all sorts of things in order to get to where they are. And those are the sources that I typically recommend to the young generation in order to get ahead. And that's also a very natural kind of way of finding a mentor. Going back to your idea of what a mentor is, I think there are many ways in which mentorship can happen. You know, it doesn't need to have an official sort of title of a mentor. Anyone who you admire and you reach out to and has the position to support can be considered a mentor. And it's very important, and I love to see this in the new generation, the courage that they have to not only challenge, but also ask for things and not to take anything away from them. I'd love to take this opportunity to thank the women who were trailblazers, the women who paved the way for people like myself included, in my early 30s, to be where I am and face fewer challenges than they did. People like Selena and Marie and many others who, you know, were a part of the music business from its early days when it was insanely sexist, to say the least. Those are the women who we really have a lot to thank for you know, sticking with it, sticking with the issues, with the problems, and making room for us to come and step in their shoes.
Yes, I am totally agree with you. I think that the most important is the attitude, and of course, we need to grow and to learn every day. But it doesn't mean to have to, you know, have this degree or this like diploma or whatever. I think that's the attitude. So about that, I want to ask Selena, do you have any like feedback from your mentees? I mean, like something that that they told you and you were like, oh my God, I opened my eyes, or I don't know, something.
Yeah, my mentee is, she's young. She has been with Universal Music as an A&R, international A&R, for a couple of years. And she's in a job and she doesn't have a lot of problems at the moment. She had previous problems that she's been dealing with, and I've been having these fortnightly calls, and I actually thought I was under giving. Like, I thought that I wasn't giving her enough because she didn't seem to need me so much. And we talked about it actually last week. And I was like, am I giving you enough? Is this okay? Like, can I help you some more? And she was like, no, actually, just actually having someone to talk to, and the same problems that she's faced, I faced. And it's not necessarily something that we can fix, or she can fix, or I can fix. It's general problems with somebody else's personality that you have to work through. And she said that she loved it. So, and we continued. We were supposed to finish in September, and we're still speaking now. I think we spoke on Tuesday, and we're speaking again next week. She's got a big conference coming up, so I'm going to help her. I'm going to test her Zoom conference with her. So I wish I could give her more, but she seems to really enjoy it. So yeah, I think it's the support group and having that, she can see herself in me, which is great.
That's amazing. I mean, the feeling that you have, talking with someone that teach you and you teach them, like, yeah, it's like a communication, a perfect communication. So about that, Marie, I read something about this manual for mentoring sessions. And I saw something like very interesting, that it says like session 1, introductions and goal settings, and it has like 5 questions. How about that? I mean, how do you came up about these questions? Like, you ask about 3 career aspirations, and in 3 words, will you say 3 words will you use to describe yourself, and so on. How about that? How do you ask them about these questions?
I actually didn't follow it, to be honest. As I said earlier, I was reading through the manual too, and I was taking it as a guidelines. But then when I had my meeting with my mentee, I was just sounding her out, and I was using my empathy and my skills, like the way I approach life and business, etc. And I thought we had a good outcome out of that. That at least the feedback that I'm getting for her is that she's very happy and she is sort of achieving the things that she wants to achieve, which is, I think, the main objective. So I think that this manual is sort of a guideline to give you an idea, and it's a tool to help you in case you are not sure how to do it. But I felt that was an inspiration. But ultimately, I just used my communication skills.
Yeah, I think it's easier to talk, it's easier to feel. I mean, it's not like exam.
Yeah, I think this is from Andrea. It's not about, you should really ask her since she founded it, but I think it's not, nobody makes the rules, right? It's not set in stone. So use your brain and get the best out of it for everybody.
Yeah, yes. Just to add to that, we came up as part of our mentoring scheme, She Grows, we came up with these handbooks. One goes to the mentor and one goes to the mentee, where we included some guidelines because, as you said, not everyone's familiar with mentorship and they're not entirely sure what to expect, or what they should ask for, what are the do's and don'ts, essentially. And the idea is that there are no very specific do's and don'ts. And the guidelines we included in the handbook are there just to provide some sort of framework in case anyone gets stuck or in case they need something to reference it back to. It also helps if, you know, some mentors or some mentees actually prefer to stay very structured, while other mentor-mentee relationships are more personal. Again, it goes back to the idea that there is no one way of doing mentorship. It really depends on the two people. As soon as they're together, it becomes whatever they make out of it.
Yes, of course. Now, talking about yourselves, your professional life, do you want to share with us your projects? What is going with your companies and your projects? Please, Selena, could you give us a little more details about that?
Yes, I was touring consistently up to December last year, and obviously COVID has halted that. I manage an artist called Ben Weiland, who we started releasing music from February and have released every single month, including today, since February. And I also started a bizarre tech application, which is it's combined CRM, which is client relationship management, with visual analytics. So I've gone way more into kind of data due to the current situation and COVID. I had to completely, I think the day that lockdown happened, I was like, right, I need to learn something new. So I did courses with Google and webinars, and I've completely switched my whole brain in the last 6 months. So kept me busy.
I think these are very crazy times, and for myself, it's very difficult to be in this pandemic scenario that it's complicated. Specifically with music, at the music business, it's very difficult. But Marie, could you give us more details about your career and your goals for this year, maybe next year?
Yeah, definitely. So I think 2020 has been extremely complex on a personal level and on a business level. And I think that there's been quite a lot of the number one lesson that we've learned is that streaming is COVID proof. So I think the industry is still seeing that the revenue from all the tech companies is going up. So right now on the digital side of the market, it's like the Wild West. So services are prime target for everybody. So everybody's trying to get in there. The artists have to adapt. I think the fact that life is gone right now is leaving the artist with missing a tool to connect with the audience, missing to be able to promote the records. So one of the main objectives that we have right now is to learn that new market, and all we know is that we don't know what's coming, but we know what we can see it's coming from tech. So we are investing heavily into digital resources right now, and we're training our artists to embrace that. I think, yeah, so that is the one side for us as a record label. And then secondly, I'm working on the board for Merlin, and Merlin is a bargain collective of independent companies that are basically negotiating the deals with Spotify, Apple, YouTube, etc. And so there we are talking about the value of music. And so the main goal here is how to get more value out for the rights holder, how to get more value out for the creator. Because ultimately, the one thing we need to ensure as a community is that the creators are going to be fine. We have to create an add value for the artist, because if there is no art, then the rest of all of this is not existent. So whatever we do needs to go back to the musicians. Otherwise, this is going to become very dry and sad, I think.
And do you think that this new reality it will change?
I think it has. Much? I don't think it'll ever go back to how it was. I think that right now we just have to accept this, and we have to embrace what is possible. And we have to learn, similar to what Selena was saying, we have to learn new skill sets. And for example, I I always had an affinity to tech and music and streaming, but I was always very often, not always, often frustrated that some artists or managers or other stakeholder in the industry did not adapt to it. And there's always been some sort of like in between these two things, seeing what's possible and not being able to pull it in. And right now I see that people are trying out new things. So new form of communication is starting, new form of audience growth is starting. And I think that's a very interesting time. We've never been in a situation like this where you are in a completely new market that is just redefining itself. So yeah, those are
very interesting. I need to hug someone, you know, it's this like these things I just, you know, it's very difficult. And talking about that, you know, Andrea, do you have this She Grows program? It have been every time like virtual, or do you have these like meetings before the pandemic, of course?
Yeah, prior to the pandemic, all of our mentoring programs were actually in person. When we launched the first official mentoring program in 2018, so we had a 2018-2019 cohort, it was focused on, we basically had 50 pairs in the UK. So that was 100 people that we worked with in one program. It was insane. We're never going to do it this big again because managing that in itself was crazy. And 5 of those actually were, 5 of the mentees as part of that program were based in India. So we kind of experimented with doing it virtually, you know, over Zoom or Skype or whatever, but we never actually thought about it as the main thing. In fact, this original She Grows France and Italy program that Marie and Selina are a part of was supposed to be a real life type of program where we would go around Europe to visit various conferences. Obviously, conferences play a huge part in the music industry. You know, we're at FIMPRO now. I'm sure this was supposed to take place in real life, and instead we're doing the Zoom version. They play a huge role in connecting people. You know, networking is super important, especially for women who work on the business side of things, behind the scenes. And so we quickly had to pivot plans and make it virtual. I think moving forward, we will probably use a combination because yeah, sure, we would love for this real life interaction to happen, and it's wonderful and it's absolutely necessary. But it doesn't have to be exclusive to that. And the good side, the positive side of running this program virtually was the fact that we could connect women from anywhere in the world with each other so that they can share, you know, so that can make this exchange. And that is a huge that is a huge benefit that we're getting from moving things in a virtual environment. All of a sudden, you know, physical barriers, geographical barriers aren't an issue anymore, and we can do a lot more international collaboration.
Yeah, I think it's easier to connect. I mean, I miss, you know, to see the real people, but it's very easy to, you know, to speak and to communicate all over the world. So yeah, Selina, how do you feel about that? I mean, have you been a mentor with this digital like program, virtual program?
Yeah, my mentee is in Paris. So we speak usually, I'm in Los Angeles, we speak usually around 8:30, 9 a.m. my time, and we speak for a good 2 hours every 2 weeks. And then we've had the programs that She Said So and YouTube Music have put together for the mentees and the mentors to develop not just the mentee skills, but the mentor skills. So we had one program called You Are Remarkable, or I Am Remarkable. And then yesterday we were working on introductions. So we had a 2-hour session with mentees and mentors, developing our skills. And it's been incredible.
I would love to hear your introduction.
Oh, afterwards.
It's amazing, by the way. I heard it yesterday. It's great. Her 2-minute elevator pitch is fantastic.
Yes,
wow.
We worked on that yesterday. So it's been incredible. And I've met some amazing other mentors and mentees, and I've been helping. There's a mentor in the UK, and she has a mentee in Italy, and she was interested in tour managing. So I jumped into one of their sessions and spoke with her, and she asked me questions, and it's a great community. It's been incredible. Yeah. And I'm here today. So thank you for that.
Do you have this program in Latin America, or are you thinking to have it?
Actually, She Said So has been a part of a really incredible project in Brazil in partnership with British Council and Oi Futuro, which is a nonprofit that's focused on investing resource into training and upskilling various underrepresented communities within Brazil. As you can imagine, it's a huge country. So we started with a focus on Rio, and we were actually supposed to kick off the third year this year. It's called ASA, Amplified Sound Art, and it's targeted at women in sound engineering, women in radio, podcasts, music, artists, you name it. Unfortunately, we're not entirely sure. It's a 3-year program, so we've done 2. I don't know if we're going to be able to finish it. That brought me to Brazil quite a lot over the last couple of years, so I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity to be able to travel and get familiar with the community there. We don't actually have an official presence in Spanish-speaking countries within Latin America, and that's definitely something I would love to address. If anyone listening is interested in starting a She Said So chapter or creating a She Said So program, whether mentorship or other types of program in Latin America, I would love to hear from them. You can reach us at hello@shesaid.so if you're interested, and someone in our team will get back to you.
Yes, please. I think this is a very interesting, events that we need here in Latin America, and also because maybe some people are afraid to speak English, or they don't know. Could you please share with us all your social networking, or your social, how can we find you, girls, ladies? Maybe, we can start with Andrea, or Selena. Please.
Mine is just at Rollon, ROLLONENT. Everything is Rollonent.
Great. Andrea?
For me, it's really easy. She Said So. You can find us anywhere on social media. And if you want to reach us directly on email, it's hello@shesaid.so.
Perfect. Marie?
I think mine are really long, so I'm just going to, I guess I need to optimize that.
No problem. So yeah, well, thank you very much. We have only 5 minutes, so please, if you are listening to us and you have a question, just please ask now. I think we are very clear, maybe, for the audience. So I don't know, ladies, if you want to add something very important about, for this.
I can't
something about your career, something. Oh.
Sorry, Carolina, I think you broke up for a second.
Oh, sorry. You can hear me?
Now it's okay. We can hear you now.
Sorry. I just say that if you want to add something important before we end up this conversation.
Well, from my perspective, just a quick note, because I feel like I haven't touched on that in terms of mentorship and, this balance between personal and professional development. What has become really apparent over the last 3 years since we've run our mentoring programs is that the most important aspect of it is that sort of personal, non-cognitive aspect of mentorship, where you can learn how to use a spreadsheet, you can learn how to release a track or start an agency. There's a lot of information like that online. One of the most important aspects that we've come across in the mentorship relationship so far is this idea of boosting confidence and providing an opportunity for for emotional support, in a sense. Selena already mentioned it, this idea of just being there for the mentee and for them to have someone to talk to. It's incredibly important and overlooked, not just in the music industry, but in our education system. And I personally believe that it's something to think about in the long term in terms of how we design our education curriculums to include this side of what I call non-cognitive training, where you're learning confidence, you're learning communication skills, you're learning how to deal with conflict, how to deal with these very human aspects of our work, which ultimately play a huge role in how business is conducted.
Actually, I would like to add something here. I think right now with the pandemic, where everybody is working from home, especially for the younger audiences, or for younger people. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry for that. But, it's difficult to find a role model. I think when I was younger, a lot of my development came through also seeing how people interacting in meetings in the office, having that kitchen chat, or just like the in between notes. And I think all of that is gone now, because all business is conducted over the computer and in Zoom meetings. And so that's why I think mentoring can be a fantastic tool as well, just to help fill that vacuum.
Nice. Yes. Selena, something else you want to add?
I would just say to anybody listening who is thinking about music, once you've made the decision to do it, which is the most incredibly competitive industry in the world, you have to know that going into it. And once you're going for it, just keep going. Just keep going. And you've got so many tools online. You've got even more so now with COVID. There's webinars on every single aspect of any kind of part of the industry, whether that is being a producer. I know She Said So has a great project at the moment for female producers, engineers. So if you're interested in any of that, please join She Said So. It's a great community.
Yes. Thank you so much, ladies, for this amazing discussion. I want to thank the FIMPRO for this space. And thank you for our audience. Muchas gracias a todos y todas las que nos han escuchado. Les agradecemos su participación. Thank you so much. Really, really thank you. I am Carolina Anton, Selena, Marie, Andrea. Thank you very much for your time. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.